And did you guys know that I was married before? That's right, I was married. And let me explain how and why I was married to a near 90-year-old woman.
So this guy is called Saros the God. He's a TikToker. He's 27 and he tells a lot of stories about his past as a homeless guy. And yeah, through his entire tales, he mentions that the way he experienced all these things is he was married to a 90-year-old woman, and when she died, he inherited everything she had. But it's not as simple as it sounds. It's very complicated actually. It's a very long story. Okay, so Saros claims that he was kicked out of his mom's house when he was 18 after contracting a disease, and then was homeless from 19 and onwards.
So, you're probably thinking to yourself, 90, isn't that a bit old? Aren't you like 26? Well, I was married at 19 to a 90-year-old woman. Let me explain how. I was homeless, and what I would do on my homeless adventures besides scouring like a raccoon through the bread and looking around and hoping people would give me money on the streets, I went to the hospital, because the hospital lets you just walk through it, lets you just go through it, have free coffee, free popcorn for some reason.
Letting homeless people near like old people, terminally ill people is, yeah, that's a bit questionable, you know. Personally, I wouldn't let a homeless person near my grandma unless I know that person, unless I knew that person. If I do not know that person, then yeah, stay away from my grandma.
But I have free coffee and free popcorn, and I would go around and talk to old people. I would take their pills, and I would put the pills in my pocket, and I would, keep them for nefarious reasons. And then after that, I would talk to them and learn their life tale. And as I learned their life tale, I would eat their food. And there was one woman, Margaret. Oh, lovely Margaret. She spoke to me and said, you've been coming in here for a minute. You've heard my tales, and I want to tell you something very important. I said, what, Margaret? She said, my grandchildren. I don't respect them. I don't like them. And I said, why? She said, because they're mean. They're just waiting for me to die so they can get my money. And I said, oh, well, I'm sorry about that. And she said, would you like it? And I said, what? Would you like what I have? And I said, your money? Sure, just put me in your will, I guess. No, this isn't that easy. Will you marry me? And I said, whoa. You got a house? You got a house? And she said, yes. And I was like, well, sure.
So yeah, this part, it kind of started changing my opinion on the situation from a 19-year-old taking advantage of an old person to an old person not taking advantage, but shining like dangling a shiny toy in front of a young person who's homeless, even though, as you can see, it's a good opportunity for both. Honestly, if anyone, I'm sure anyone would have said yes to that situation. Just being married to a person with money, after like 1 year of being homeless and fending for yourself, who wouldn't say yes? You get a roof over your head and you get some pussy, you get some pussy, even if it's 90, even if it's a 90-year-old, cobweb.
So she checks out of the hospital, and we ended up going down to the courthouses, did all the marriage license nonsense, all that jazz. And I go back to her house, and I see just a beautiful house with 17 cats, 3 dogs, and 2 lizards. It was a lot of animals in this house, and I'm allergic to cats. It was insane. We were married for 2 months. Exactly 54 days, but 2 months. And during the 2 months, we went hiking. We went to the zoo. We went to the sand dunes in Michigan. We went to Belle Isle. We went to Canada. We went ice fishing. I experienced so much with Margaret. It was a core essential part. And she nizzled my gozzle. She gave me a fine pecker's toot. She took out her dentures and gave me the schlumply glomply, the glomply gop.
Man, imagine being the children and grandchildren hearing this, that your grandma gave great head, took out her dentures. So the mouth she used to kiss the grandbabies, she used that for this guy. Nothing against Saros, but yeah, we did not need that detail. But yeah, looking back at it, yeah, it was probably good that he said it, because later on the context will be needed, because he will talk more about how he got the money and all the resistance he got from the family. Because 2 months, I forgot to mention, they were married for 2 months. All this happened in 2 months, and yeah.
Yes, I consummated the marriage. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was amazing. I had a great time. And after so many days, 54 days of being married, after 90 years on this earth, Margaret passed peacefully in her sleep. And it was tragic. I didn't know that she had passed. I had no idea that the woman who I had loved for 2 months, despite the very, very large age difference, and this probably being just morally incorrect on her part, but I was homeless and I was defenseless. I had no way to go.
I mean, it was morally like wrong from both parties, but it was a situation where both of them just needed something, you know, like he needed a place to stay and she needed a companionship and not to feel like she's alone at the final days of her life.
She just wanted to get back at her grandchildren. She probably could have put me in her will. She probably could have done a lot of other things to make this easier. As a matter of fact, looking back on this in hindsight, there was a lot of easier ways to go about this, but we loved each other. We had an experience, we had a bond, and it was beautiful. And after all that, after everything that happened, after everything in that whole caboggle, her grandchildren were so mad at me. They were mad. They were like, "You're not getting my grandma's stuff." And I'm just like, my wife gave me everything in the will, gave me everything in the marriage. So everything is mine. I got the house. I think I got like, what was it, like $76,000 just in general. It was like just money. I lost it all, by the way. All that money, I lost every bit of it. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I wasted it in me. I was a 19-year-old kid with like that much money. I do not give me a large amount of money. I'm not good with it. My money managing skills are horrible.
As you heard, he talked about how the grandchildren came knocking, asking for the grandma's money, talking about, "You're not gonna get this money." So what he tells in other videos, it's like a 12-part series. It's too long, and I'll just condense it into a clip and, you know, this context. The grandchildren don't feel like he's, you know, picking on like babies and, you know, punching down. No, these grandchildren are like 40 at the time he was talking about it. Like when he was 19, they were 40 and above, so they were pretty established. But yeah, as you heard, the grandma did not want to leave the money with the grandchildren, because she felt as if they were just waiting for it to die. They were just praying for it to die so they can get the money. So in that respect, I can say, yeah, it's okay like that she gave this guy the money, because it was her money to give in the first place. Whether she was 100% right in the head when it happened, was 90, I'm sure you're not the sharpest person at the age of 90 and on the verge of like death. But yeah, I do support that. I do support her decision to change the benefactor of her will. So he goes on to describe how he spent all the money, because 76,000 in like 3 months or something. He talked about how quickly he spent it. So let me just show you the full clip of him explaining how he spent this money.
So let me tell you. So the first thing I'm gonna explain is what happened to the grandkids. The grandchildren, they approached me. I was living in the house. They knocked on. They asked who I was. They were like, "Do. We're looking for our grandma Margaret." And I said, "Oh, my ex. Yeah. She's a worm food, brother."
And the fact is, it says it like, "Oh, my ex," as if they don't know. So they basically eloped when they got married. So no one in the family knew. So that was a big part of this thing. Like absolutely no one knew that this guy, this 19-year-old homeless guy who with big hair and, you know, the crazy eyes and big beard, was married to their grandma. So imagine them showing up at the door to find this man, and he's like, "Oh, my ex. Oh yeah, she's worm food, buddy. Yeah, she's sleeping with the fishes. Yeah, oh no, she's donezo, bro. She's donezo. You too late." How else would people react to that? Like, he probably didn't make it easy for himself in that part, especially not telling the grandchildren that they were married.
Goodbye. And I tried to close the door, and I said, "Hold on, worm food. What did you do to my grandma?" And I'm like, "I'm not gonna lie to you. She didn't like y'all. Y'all tried to put her in a mental institution. Y'all ended up putting her in the hospital for a little bit."
Mental institution. So it's either they put her there so that, I don't know, they can get out of dealing with her, or she was actually not well mentally. And Well, we don't have any facts to prove either or, but if she was at a hospital, I would say she was good enough to, make decisions. I don't think they would allow someone who's not mentally fit to get married. But then again, there's Britney Spears and all that shit. There's a lot of crazy people getting married. So maybe America is like maybe it's loose on who can get married and who can't get married.
That's where I found her, and that's where I came in. So y'all messed up. And then they proceeded to say, well, we're gonna, and they just start yelling at me and all this nonsense, and I was like, well. It was a bit of a mess. After that, I'm just gonna tell you, I have now visited 80% of all places on this planet because of this one experience. I ended up having to sell the house, which sucked. Had to hire a real estate agent. That was a bit of an insane thing. After I hired the real estate agent, we had to clean the house because the house was an absolute mess. Cleaned the house, got everything all fixed up, did a little work on the house to make it representable. It was in a very nice neighborhood, so there was no issue with an area. It was just an issue actually selling the house. Really insane process, mind you. So, sold the house, and realistically, I could have just, rented it out, but no, I just wanted to get the house. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to be a landlord. I'm not an op. I'm not being a landlord. So, after that, I traveled, and I traveled a lot. And I'm going to explain every single one of those stories as I tell more videos, because that's where I get my stories from, me traveling. So just get ready for that as time goes on. But I will explain, I got homeless again because of the situation. Because in summary, when you get a mass amount of money and you're young, people will come to you and be like, oh, bro, let's hang out, bro, let's chill, bro, hey. I ain't really got it on me like that, rent coming up. And I'll be like, oh, I got you a rent. How much is your rent? And they'd be like, $700. And I'll be like, I got you. And they'll say, well, you really doing this for me? And I won't tell them I have the money. I'll just be like, yeah, I'll pay your rent. Yeah, I'll help you out with this. I went to IHOP one time and gave a waitress a $3,000 tip. I just was giving money. I was like Mr. Beast, but with no return net worth. I didn't have a camera. I didn't think to start a YouTube. I didn't think to record most of the stuff I did. I just lived. I just did things. That's all I did. I just wanted to leave my mark on this planet. That's all I wanted to do. I probably improved a great amount of lives with all the money I gave away. Or maybe I ruined some lives, because I learned if you give anyone a mass amount of money at once, they might do something silly. Like most lottery winners end up messing up their lives.
So yeah, he talked about more in detail on how he lost the money. This was just a snippet of what happened. He goes more into detail into how terrible it was, how he lost the money, what he had to do to live again, and how he ended up homeless. Because he even started selling drugs at some point. Yeah, he started selling drugs, and yeah, he ended up selling drugs and became homeless again after he almost got caught. And there's a whole story about this. Let me just show you the clip.
So the reason I moved to Vegas was because I needed to be somewhere that was full of sin. When you go through a traumatic event and you have no healthy outlet, guess what? You decide to get a little bit wacky, and that's exactly what I did. So in the spur of me being crazy and wacky, I bought a muscle car. Muscle cars were my favorite car at the time. So, and driving down the muscle car all the way to Vegas, which is basically a desert. Didn't know Vegas was a desert before this prior. Kind of messed me up. It wasn't really ready to deal with that heat. It messed me up. I'm black and I'm not ready to deal with the heat. I'm going to tell you that right now. Miami, no. Heat, not at all. So, I proceed to go move down there. Now, I need to make sure I'm someplace that's safe and nice. So, I find a dirty, garbage, disgusting, filthy, putrid motel, so I can proceed to do what I do best. Not be a good person. I was going through an emotional turmoil at the time, and I was not smart at 19. I'm 27 now, and 19, I was an idiot. I'm still a little bit of an idiot. So I ended up going to the strip club, met somebody. I will give her the name Jezebel for the sake of this story.
I mean, that's so nice. Giving a stripper a different name to hide the details.
She ended up moving in with me because her boyfriend was abusing her at home, and she stayed with me. She introduced me to a man named G. G turned me into a street pharmacist. You probably don't know what a street pharmacist is, but let's just use our imagination for what that could possibly be. G put me on to a mini types of trade throughout the entirety of Vegas, which is pretty nice for me. It got me a little steady stream of income, and I could give out Margaret's money to people that needed it desperately. Other homeless people, I was not homeless anymore, so I wanted to give back to those people, waitresses, things of that nature. That's exactly what I did.
So he was not a totally like bad person just because of everything. Like he did or give away the money to homeless people and people who needed it. So he was kind of good with it, but he was also pretty dumb the way he spent it, because 3,000 on a waitress is crazy. I don't care how much that waitress is struggling. $3,000, just put into perspective now. $3,000 in South Africa is like 45,000 rand on a tip, and that's all it ended up as. He just tipped her and left, because he doesn't talk about if okay, this is bad. I'm not saying he should have, but he doesn't even say he, I don't know, got her number or anything. Not that you should pay for people's numbers, okay? I'm just saying $3,000. If I'm giving you $3,000 and I'm sick in the head, that's something I have to add. You also have to be sick in the head. But yeah, 3,000 and sick in the head, I would expect something in return. 3,000, 45,000 rands.
So in the span of that was like 4 or 5 months of me living in Vegas. Out of nowhere, G calls me. He says, "Hey Brody, I gotta tell you something." I'm like, "Yes sir, what's going on?" "Hey, you about to get raided." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Hey, peace." I'm like, "Oh, gee willikers." So I get raided. This sucks. I had to flush everything down the toilet. It's a common thing as a person at Rite Aid, and this is all in GTA, obviously, TikTok. This isn't actual real things. This is all just GTA story. This is the RP server. Anyways, so Jezebel knew about this prior, so she had been already flushing things down the toilet, so we were all set and safe. And then she said, "What are we gonna do?" I said, "We? This isn't Nintendo. We are not playing a local co-op game, and I am not French. There is no we."
Okay, that was good. We're not playing Nintendo. I am not French. We're not playing a local co-op game. No. He smashed it. Like, he's pretty fun. He's a pretty funny dude. He's very charismatic. There's a part he didn't mention in this one, where he mentioned in other stories. That's something more about the grandchildren. He talks about how the grandchildren will try to sue him and try to take the money through court and legal proceedings. They failed because he consummated the marriage. So he fucked the 90-year-old, and apparently that's what you need to make a marriage legit. It's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of weird that, you just have to have sex with someone to make your marriage legit.
No we, no, yes. We are simply going to go our separate ways. And she said, "Well, you haven't touched me the entire time you were here. Before you go, would you?" And I said no. I was still dealing with the trauma of my 90-year-old wife kind of passing in my arms, which was a bit depressing. So I was like, "Nah, I'm fine." So after that, I leave to go gather some supplies, and I notice that I forgot a bit of my money because I only had physical cash. So Jezebel had taken basically all of my physical cash, and I don't blame her. I genuinely don't. She was mad at me for not touching her, essentially, so I don't blame her. Anyways, I go back to the home. I look around, like, wait a minute. Hold up a second. This looks a bit like every Detroit home in the projects because it's basically empty. So I'm just like, well, I guess I'm back at square one. I have $500 to my name and a muscle car. So I'm essentially homeless again, which I loot back. The very thing I tried to avoid. It awakened a trauma in me that I didn't know I had. My body reacted first, which messed me up a little bit. I began to hyperventilate and had a panic attack. But I gathered all the things that I could, took my muscle car, and just drove. I didn't have really a direction. I just drove. After that, my car broke down in the middle of the desert. And that messed me up. It truly did. And that's where I was at the end of this tale, which sucked. So yeah, that's the life in Vegas and what happened after my 90-year-old wife passed and I moved to Vegas.
well, now he's 27 and he has a girlfriend. He, well, has a house, as you saw in the videos. And yeah, I think he got on his feet. You know, he even talks really well. He explains how he developed this way of speaking, how he's concise and everything. He talks about how a homeless person helped him find his voice and all that stuff. And yeah, it's pretty good that it ended like pretty well, like now, but back then it was pretty bad for him. And he talks about this more in his entire TikTok, in his entire TikTok page. You can go follow him if you want to. He has like lots of videos covering different things, talking about other things, and giving people tips on how to be homeless and not suffer. So he's giving back to, well, the community, sort of, you know, if homeless people have phones. So yeah, it kind of hinges on homeless people having phones, but I doubt it's that hard nowadays. It's like, what, 500 rand to get a phone that has TikTok. So yeah, that was Cyrus the God. Was a crazy story, 90-year-old and everything. But yeah, that's Cyrus the God, and that's what I wanted to show you guys. Tell me, what do you think? Do you think that was okay for him to do? Are you for the decision? Are you against the decision? I don't know. You know, make up your own decision. That's all I have for you guys today. Just make sure you subscribe. I always forget to ask people to subscribe until the end. So just subscribe. You know, maybe one day I'll make a middle of the video like, hey guys, please subscribe. But no, yeah, just make sure you subscribe, like, and tell me, do you like me making this type of videos? If you do, then I'll continue making them.